She texted, "He broke my leg to the wrong number." 10 minutes later, a Mafia boss was standing at her door. Avery Collins had been lying on the cold kitchen floor, rain tapping against the windows while pain burned through her leg. Her boyfriend had walked out after hurting her, and all she wanted was to reach her sister before he came back. One wrong digit changed everything. Because the stranger who answered was not a cop, not a doctor, and not someone Avery should ever have trusted. His name was Roman Vale, and by sunrise, the man who had terrified her for years would no longer be the most dangerous person in her life. Stay with this story, because what begins as a desperate rescue becomes a journey through power, fear, loyalty, and the terrifying difference between being protected and being free. Like the video and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Roman Vale did not look like a man who had rushed across Philadelphia because of a text from a stranger. That was the first thing Avery noticed. There was no panic in him, no confusion, no hesitation. Rain darkened the shoulders of his black coat, and the porch light cut across a face that seemed almost unnaturally calm. He stood just beyond Derek as if he had arrived for an appointment rather than a woman bleeding on a kitchen floor. Behind him was another man, broader through the shoulders, his expression unreadable. Derek tightened his grip on the door. "I think you have the wrong house." Roman looked past him. His eyes found Avery. For one terrible second she wished she had never sent the address. Something about the stranger made the room feel smaller. Roman did not look surprised by the blood near her hand or by the way her leg rested at an angle that made nausea rise in her throat. He looked at everything once. Then he looked at Derek. "You are Derek Shaw." It was not a question. Derek's face changed, only slightly, but Avery saw it. The same man who had spent 3 years making her feel small suddenly seemed uncertain. "Who the hell are you?" Roman stepped closer to the threshold. "Move!" Derek laughed. It was forced and ugly. "You don't walk into my house and tell me what to do." Roman's gaze dropped to Derek's hand on the door, then rose again. "I am giving you the opportunity to move on your own." The man behind Roman shifted his weight. His coat opened just enough for Derek to see the outline of a shoulder holster. Silence filled the doorway. Derek moved. Not far, but enough. Roman entered. He did not rush toward Avery. That surprised her more than anything else. Most people saw someone hurt and reached for them instinctively. Roman stopped several feet away and lowered himself into a crouch. His voice changed when he spoke to her. Not softer exactly, more controlled. "Can I come closer?" Avery stared at him. She had not realized how badly she needed to hear a question instead of an order. She nodded. Roman moved forward and looked at her leg without touching it. "Where does it hurt most?" Avery swallowed. "Below the knee." "Can you move your toes?" She tried. Pain flashed white behind her eyes. "Yes." Roman glanced toward the man at the door. "Mason, call Lena." Mason already had his phone out. Roman looked at Avery again. "Did you hit your head?" "I don't think so." "Did you lose consciousness?" "No." Derek finally found his voice. "She fell." Roman turned. Derek lifted both hands. "That's what happened. We were arguing and she slipped. She gets dramatic when she's upset." Avery felt something inside her close. It was a familiar sensation. The moment when Derek started rebuilding reality in front of her. He had done it before. After he punched a hole through the bedroom door, he said she had cornered him. After he grabbed her wrist hard enough to leave fingerprints, he said she had tried to walk away while he was talking. After he threw her phone against the wall, he said he was tired of being disrespected. Every time his version came quickly. Every time hers seemed to get smaller. Roman looked back at Avery. "Did you fall?" Derek answered immediately. "Yes." Roman did not even glance at him. "I wasn't speaking to you." Avery's throat tightened. Derek stared at her. She knew that look. "Be careful. You know what happens after people leave." Roman waited. No encouragement. No pressure. Just silence. Avery looked at the man she had loved once, or thought she had. Then she looked at the stranger who had answered a message never meant for him. "No," she said. Derek's jaw flexed. "Avery." Roman rose. The room changed with him. "What happened?" Avery could hear Derek breathing behind him. "He shoved me." "That's not what happened." Roman lifted one finger. Derek stopped speaking. Avery stared at Roman's back. It was ridiculous, but for the first time that night she felt like there was something solid between her and Derek. "He grabbed me," she said. "I tried to get away. He pushed me into the counter." Her voice shook. "I went down wrong." Roman turned his head slightly. "Has he hurt you before?" Derek stepped forward. "Okay, this is insane." Mason moved into his path. Derek stopped. Roman kept his eyes on Avery. "Has he—" Avery looked toward the broken wine glass. "Yes." It came out barely above a whisper. Roman heard it. Derek did too. He stared at her as if she had betrayed him. Roman's face showed almost nothing. That frightened her. Derek started talking faster. "Look, couples fight. She knows that. I apologized. She knows I would never actually hurt her." Avery looked down at her leg. Something about the sentence was so absurd that she nearly laughed. Roman did not. He asked Avery one more question. "Do you want him dead?" The room went silent. Avery's eyes snapped to his. Derek went pale. Mason closed his eyes briefly as though he had heard Roman ask questions like this before. Avery could not tell if Roman was serious. That uncertainty scared her enough. "No," Roman nodded once. "Then he lives." Derek exhaled. Roman turned toward him. "You should understand what just happened." Derek said nothing. "She made that decision." Roman took one slow step closer. "Not you." Derek tried to recover some of his arrogance. "Get out of my house." Roman looked around the kitchen. "Interesting time to remember it as yours." Avery heard vehicles outside, doors opening, footsteps. 2 people entered carrying medical equipment, followed by a woman in navy scrubs beneath a long coat. She was in her 40s, dark hair pulled tightly back her eyes, already assessing Avery before she reached the kitchen. "I'm Dr. Mercer." She knelt. "Avery, I need to examine your leg. I will tell you before I touch you." Avery nodded. "Doctor." Mercer placed 2 fingers against her ankle. "Pulse is present." She tested sensation carefully, then she looked at Roman. "Possible tibial fracture, maybe ligament damage. I need imaging." Roman said, "Take her." Dr. Mercer gave him a cold look. "I wasn't asking." Mason looked away, almost hiding a smile. Roman did not react. Avery noticed. The doctor returned her attention to Avery. "We are going to stabilize the leg before we move you. It will hurt." Avery whispered, "How much? Enough that lying to you would be rude." For some reason, that made Avery trust her. The next few minutes blurred. A brace, hands holding her carefully, pain rolling through her body so violently that the kitchen ceiling disappeared behind tears. Roman crouched near her again. "Stay with me." Avery squeezed her eyes shut. "Look at me." She opened them. His face stayed still while everything else moved. "Keep breathing." She hated that she listened. She hated that it helped. Derek stood near the wall, watched by Mason. When the medical team lifted Avery onto the stretcher, Derek tried to move toward her. "I should go with her." Avery's entire body tensed. Roman saw it. "No!" Derek glared at him. "She's my girlfriend." Roman stepped between them. "She is injured. I can take care of her." Roman's eyes dropped toward the blood on the tile. "Your qualifications appear questionable." Derek's face flushed. "This is kidnapping." Avery looked at Roman sharply. Roman turned to her. "If you want an ambulance and a public hospital, say so." The medical team paused. The choice startled her. She looked at Dr. Mercer. "Where are you taking me?" "A private surgical clinic in Center City." "Am I allowed to leave?" Dr. Mercer looked offended. "Of my clinic? Yes." Avery looked at Roman. "And after that?" "Yes." His answer came without hesitation. She did not fully believe him, but she looked toward Derek. That decision was easier. "Take me." Derek swore. Roman stepped close enough that Derek finally stopped pretending he wanted a fight. "If you contact her tonight," Roman said, "you will be making a very bad decision." "You think you scare me?" Roman watched him for a moment, then said, "I do." Nothing in his tone changed. That was what made Avery believe him. The stretcher rolled toward the front door. As they passed Roman, his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen and silenced it. Avery caught a name before it disappeared. Vale Logistics. She did not know then what the name meant, only that Roman looked like a man whose phone probably did not stop ringing for strangers. Yet he had answered hers. The rain had softened by the time they loaded her into a black medical van. Dr. Mercer climbed in beside her. Roman remained outside with Mason. Avery watched him through the open doors. He and Mason spoke quietly. Mason nodded toward the house. Roman looked at Derek through the front window. There was nothing explosive in his expression, only calculation. The doors closed. For the first time since falling, Avery was no longer inside that kitchen. Her body seemed to realize it before her mind did. She began shaking. Dr. Mercer placed a blanket over her. Shock. Avery stared at the ceiling. Who is he? Dr. Mercer adjusted the intravenous line. Roman Vale. I know his name. The doctor looked at her. Then ask the question you actually mean. Avery turned her head. What kind of man gets a message from a stranger and arrives with armed security and a private surgeon? Dr. Mercer was quiet for a moment. The kind of man people usually know better than to text by accident. That was not comforting. The clinic occupied 3 floors of a building Avery had passed dozens of times without noticing. There was no emergency room entrance, no crowded waiting area, no fluorescent hallway full of families holding insurance cards. They took her directly through a secured garage and into an imaging suite. Everything moved too quickly. X-rays, blood work, a scan. Dr. Mercer stood beside the bed while the images glowed on a monitor. The tibia is fractured. There is also damage around the knee. You need surgery. Avery stared at the black and white image. It did not look like her body. Tonight, yes. Will I walk? Dr. Mercer did not give her false certainty. I expect you to. Recovery will take time. Physical therapy will matter. What you do after surgery matters. Avery looked down. I work at a desk. Then work will be easier than stairs. Avery almost smiled. Then another thought hit her. How much is this? Dr. Mercer turned toward her. What? The surgery. This place. All of it. That is not a question for me. It is when I don't have this kind of insurance. A voice came from the doorway. It is handled. Roman stood there. His coat was gone. Without it, Avery could see the tailored charcoal suit, the white shirt, the cufflinks at his wrists. Everything about him looked expensive without trying to look expensive. That somehow made it worse. Avery stared at him. By who? Me. No. Roman's eyebrows moved slightly. No, I don't know you. Correct. I didn't ask you to pay. Also correct. Then don't. Dr. Mercer looked between them. Roman said, Operate. She crossed her arms. I was planning to. Then she left the room. Avery looked at Roman. You can't just decide to pay for my surgery. I already did. Why? His gaze settled on her face. Because you need surgery. That isn't an answer. It is the only answer relevant tonight. Avery wanted to argue. The medication made thoughts slippery. Where is Derek? At his house. You didn't hurt him? Roman considered the wording. He is alive. Avery stared. Roman added, You asked for that. Something cold moved through her. Not because Derek was alive, because Roman had remembered. What are you? Roman did not smile. Not a question you need answered before anesthesia. The nurse arrived. Roman stepped away. Avery watched him through heavy eyelids. Why did you come? He stopped at the door. For the first time, there was something in his expression she could not identify. Because you asked someone to. Then he left. The ceiling lights became streaks as they wheeled Avery toward surgery. A hallway, double doors, voices, the mask lowering toward her face. Breathe normally, someone said. Avery thought of Claire. She had meant to text Claire. She had not even managed that correctly. Then darkness took her. When Avery opened her eyes again, sunlight was cutting through cream-colored curtains. For several seconds, she did not know where she was. Then her leg pulsed. Memory returned all at once. Kitchen, Derek, wrong number, Roman. Avery jerked upright. Pain stopped her. Careful. She turned. Dr. Mercer sat in a chair beside the bed reading something on a tablet. Where am I? Roman's house. Avery stared at her. What? His estate. You were discharged from the clinic yesterday. You needed monitoring and assistance. He has both. You brought me to his house. I brought you somewhere with professional nursing staff, secure transportation, and enough space for you to move without stairs. Avery looked around properly. The bedroom was larger than her entire apartment living room. Tall windows overlooked bare trees silvered with morning frost. A fireplace sat dark along one wall. Her clothes were folded on a chair. Her phone was charging beside the bed. 2 crutches stood nearby. Avery reached for the phone. No one stopped her. There were 23 missed calls, most from Claire, 6 from her office, 9 from Derek. Her stomach tightened. She called Claire first. Her sister answered before the first full ring. Avery. The sound of her voice nearly broke something open. I'm here. Claire inhaled sharply. Where the hell are you? I'm okay. Do not say you're okay. You disappeared for 2 days. Derek told me you two had some huge fight and you left. I called hospitals. I called your boss. I almost called the police. Avery closed her eyes. He hurt me. Silence. Then Claire's voice changed. What did he do? Avery looked at the brace around her leg. He broke my leg. Claire said nothing for several seconds. When she finally spoke, her voice was shaking. Give me your address. Avery looked toward the bedroom door. She could see part of the hallway. A man in a dark suit stood near the staircase, not looking inside, still close enough to notice if she tried to move. I don't know it. What do you mean you don't know? Avery swallowed. I'm at someone's house. Whose? The door opened. Roman entered carrying a folder. Avery's entire body tightened. He noticed. He stopped immediately. Claire heard the silence. Avery, Roman spoke quietly. You can tell her. Avery stared at him. Claire said, Who is that? Avery did not take her eyes off Roman. His name is Roman Vale. The silence on the phone became absolute. Then Claire whispered, What did you say? Roman Vale. Avery, listen to me. You need to get out of there. Roman placed the folder on a table and stepped back. Avery lowered her voice. You know him. I know the name. From where? Hospital people talk. Police come in. Men come in. Sometimes no one gives real names. But that one gets remembered. Claire took a breath. Get out. Avery looked at Roman. He seemed completely unconcerned. I'll call you back. No, Avery. I promise. She ended the call before Claire could argue. Roman stood beside the window. Avery held up the phone. My sister thinks you're dangerous. Your sister sounds perceptive. What exactly do you do? Roman looked towards her phone. You have internet. Avery opened the search bar. She typed his name, Roman Vale, Philadelphia. The results looked almost boring. Vale Logistics, Vale Commercial Holdings, a restaurant group, a construction company, a charitable foundation, political event photos, a picture of Roman shaking hands with a city councilman. Avery scrolled. You're a businessman. Among other things. That's not what Claire meant. No. Avery looked at him. Mafia. Roman's mouth moved slightly. You watch too many movies. Organized crime. He said nothing. That was answer enough. Avery's pulse climbed. She pushed the blanket aside. Roman did not move. What are you doing? Leaving. All right. Avery froze. All right? There are clothes in the closet. Mason can drive you wherever you want. Avery searched his face. You're serious? Yes. She reached for the crutches. Pain shot through her knee before her foot touched the floor. Roman moved instinctively. Avery flinched. He stopped, his hands lowered. Do you want help? No. Then I won't touch you. Avery gripped the crutches. That sentence landed somewhere uncomfortable. She slowly got upright. Sweat appeared along her hairline. Roman watched without interfering. When she finally stood, she felt ridiculous and furious and proud all at once. Where is Derek? Roman's expression hardened by 1 degree. Gone. Gone where? Not at your apartment. Avery stared. What did you do? Nothing that explains his current location. What does that mean? It means after you left, he packed a bag. Avery's stomach dropped. Roman continued. Someone also began asking questions about the men who were at your house. What people? People who pay attention to me. Avery's grip tightened around the crutches. So because you came to my house now, criminals know who I am? Possibly. She stared at him. You made this worse. Possibly. The ease with which he accepted it made her angrier. You don't get to say that like it's a weather report. Roman's eyes stayed on her. I could lie if that would make you feel better. No. Then yes, helping you may have created another problem. Avery looked toward the door. If I leave, I will still have someone watch Derek. Why? Because whether you stay here has nothing to do with whether he is dangerous. That answer silenced her. Roman walked to the table and picked up the folder. You asked what the surgery cost? Avery looked at it. He placed the papers within reach. She opened them. The total made her chest tighten. Hospital care, surgery, anesthesia, private nursing, security, transportation, everything itemized. Jesus. Roman said nothing. I can't pay this. I know. Avery looked up sharply. So that's it. What is... This is the part where I find out what you expect. Roman's face became unreadable. Avery hated that she could not tell when she had surprised him. I know men like you. No, you don't. I know men who do favors and call them gifts until they want something back. Roman was quiet. Then he walked to a second chair and sat, not close, not blocking the door. Your medical care is not a debt. Avery stared at him. You expect me to believe that I do not care what you believe. Then why show me the bill? Because you asked. She looked down at the papers. Her hands were trembling. Roman waited. Finally, he reached for another folder. This is something else. Avery did not take it. What? Work. She almost laughed. I already have a job. Not currently. Her eyes narrowed. Excuse me. Your employer called this morning. Your medical leave paperwork has not been filed. They are attempting to reach you. Avery grabbed her phone. Roman added, I did not speak to them. She believed him for one simple reason. If he had, he probably would have admitted it. What work? Roman slid the folder across the table. Financial review. Avery looked at him. You want me to do your taxes? No. Good, because I'm starting to suspect your tax situation is complicated. For the first time, Mason appeared in the doorway. He had probably heard the last sentence. A brief smile crossed his face. Roman did not look amused. Avery opened the folder. Balance sheets, vendor payments, shipping invoices, operating accounts. The numbers were sophisticated, layered, some legitimate, some obviously designed to obscure where money came from. Avery should have closed it, she knew that. Instead, her eyes moved automatically. Page 1, page 2, page 3. She forgot Roman for almost 30 seconds. That was the strange thing about numbers. People lied. Numbers lied too, but only when someone taught them how. Avery had spent 8 years learning to catch the fingerprints. She turned back 2 pages, then forward again. Roman watched her. What? Avery ignored him. A warehouse company paid nearly identical insurance fees to 3 different brokers. One broker shared an address with a trucking subcontractor. The subcontractor billed fuel surcharges inconsistent with mileage. Nothing large, nothing obvious. But the pattern was wrong. She turned another page. Who audits this? Several people. They're bad at it. Mason looked toward Roman. Roman said why? Avery pointed at the entries. This company is charging fuel reimbursement based on distance, but the vehicle logs don't match the invoices. Roman leaned forward. How much? Not much. Then why does it matter? Because that's the point. She reached for another statement. Big theft gets noticed. Small theft hides inside normal waste. Avery ran her finger down the columns. 2% here, maybe 3 there. She checked another month. Same pattern, different account. Her heartbeat changed. Not fear this time. Focus. Roman stood. Avery turned 3 pages quickly. Do you have the full vendor history? Yes. Employee access records? Yes. Bank reconciliation? Yes. Avery looked up. Roman's attention had sharpened. What are you seeing? She tapped the page. Someone knows exactly where your controls are weak. Mason stepped into the room. Roman's voice became very quiet. Meaning? Avery met his eyes. Meaning these books aren't just dirty. She closed the folder slowly. Someone is stealing from you. Roman did not answer immediately. For the first time since Avery had met him, silence did not feel like control. It felt like calculation. His eyes dropped to the folder on her lap. How sure are you Tip Tuk Viet Fan 3 Quang 2002? Avery looked at the numbers again. Sure enough that I would not accuse anyone yet. Mason folded his arms. That sounds less convincing than you think. Avery glanced at him. It is supposed to. Good accountants do not build conclusions before they have evidence. Roman remained still. What do you need? Avery looked at him. The question surprised her. Not because he asked it, because he asked it without telling her what she was allowed to find. Complete vendor history for 12 months, bank reconciliation, vehicle logs, employee permissions, anyone who can approve payments above $50,000. Mason let out a quiet breath. Anything else? Coffee. Mason almost smiled. Roman did not. You have it. Avery closed the folder. I did not say I agreed to work for you. Roman studied her. No, you did not. Then stop acting like I did. Another silence. Avery expected resistance. Instead, Roman walked toward the door. Breakfast is downstairs. She stared at his back. That is it. He looked over his shoulder. You said you have not agreed. Then he left. Mason stayed for half a second longer. You are either very brave or very confused. Avery adjusted her grip on the crutches. Can I be both? Mason nodded. That would explain a lot. Then he followed Roman out. Avery remained alone. The folder sat heavy across her knees. It would have been easier if Roman had pressured her. She understood pressure. She understood guilt. She understood what to do when a man stood over her and told her which decision would make him angry. But Roman had left. No threat, no demand, only information, and somehow that made the choice more difficult. She looked toward the windows. Beyond the glass, the estate stretched across several acres of winter grass and bare trees. A black iron fence marked the edge of the property. Men moved near the gates with radios clipped beneath their coats. Beautiful house, expensive furniture, armed guards. Avery thought of Derek's kitchen, the broken glass, the door locking behind him. Then she looked around the bedroom. No lock outside. Her phone untouched beside her. Her sister one call away. A golden cage could still be a cage. The problem was that she was not sure whether the door was actually closed. By noon, she had called her employer, submitted medical paperwork, and listened while her supervisor expressed concern that sounded suspiciously close to inconvenience. 6 weeks minimum before returning to the office. Possibly longer. Her rent would continue. Her insurance would cover part of the surgery. Not enough. Her savings were decent, not endless. She called Claire again. This time her sister did not cry. She interrogated. Are you alone? Yes. Can you leave? I think so. You think? Avery looked toward the open bedroom door. I have not tried. Avery, I know. No, I do not think you do. Avery closed her eyes. Claire continued. One dangerous man hurting you does not make another dangerous man safe because he speaks quietly. I know. You keep saying that. Because I know. Then come stay with me. Avery looked at her leg. Claire lived on the 3rd floor of a building with no elevator. Neither of them said it. Claire finally asked, What do you want to do? Avery looked at the folder. I do not know yet. That answer seemed to bother Claire less, maybe because it was true. After the call, Avery dressed slowly. Someone had placed soft black pants and a cream sweater in the closet. The tags were still attached. She considered refusing to wear them out of principle. Then she looked at her own clothes folded on the chair stained with blood. Pride had practical limits. Getting downstairs took almost 10 minutes. Each step forced her to think. Crutch, good leg, crutch, injured leg, do not twist, do not rush. Halfway down, her breathing changed. The staircase blurred. For 1 second, she was back on the kitchen floor. Her hand slipped. A strong arm moved toward her. Avery jerked away. Roman stopped instantly. He stood 2 steps below her. I did not hear you. You were focused. She looked at the distance remaining. I can do it. I know. He stayed where he was, not touching, not leaving. Avery descended 1 step at a time. When she finally reached the floor, her arms were trembling. Roman looked at her face. Pain. Some? Do you need Lena? No. He nodded. No argument. That irritated her almost as much as being argued with would have. Do you always agree this easily? No. Then why are you doing it now? Roman turned toward the dining room. Because it is your leg. Avery watched him walk away. She followed. Breakfast had become lunch by the time she reached the table. Mason sat near the end with a laptop open. Roman poured coffee. Avery lowered herself into a chair. Do you have any food that does not look expensive? Mason glanced at the table. There is toast. Perfect. Roman pushed the plate toward her. Avery looked at Mason's laptop. Those the records? Mason raised an eyebrow. You said you had not agreed. I have not. You are staring at the screen. I have eyes. Roman sat across from her. What would make you agree? There it was, the question she had been expecting. Avery took a piece of toast. Terms. Roman leaned back. Go on. I keep my phone. Yes. I call Claire whenever I want. Yes. No one enters my room without asking. Fine. No one tells my employer where I am. Roman nodded. If there is a threat involving me, I hear the truth. Mason looked at Roman. Roman's expression did not change. Within reason. Avery shook her head. No. Avery, that phrase means you decide what I deserve to know. Roman watched her. Sometimes information creates danger. So does ignorance. Mason remained very interested in his coffee. Avery continued. Dr. Mercer decides what happens with my leg. You do not interfere. Roman's eyes narrowed slightly. Did Lena tell you I would? She told me you think expertise becomes optional when you are impatient. Mason coughed into his fist. Roman ignored him. Anything else? I get paid. Obviously. At market rate. Double. No. Roman looked genuinely puzzled. Avery almost smiled. I do not want double. I want enough that I know what my work is worth without wondering what the extra money is buying. Something shifted in Roman's expression. Not approval. Recognition. Market rate. Avery nodded. 8 weeks. Roman said 6. 8. 6. Then find another accountant. Mason looked down to hide his reaction. Roman stared at Avery for several seconds. 8. She took another bite of toast. Then I will look at the records. Mason closed his laptop. I think I just watched someone negotiate with Roman Vale over breakfast. Avery glanced at him. Was I supposed to wait until dinner? For the first time, Roman smiled. Barely. But it was there. The work began that afternoon. Roman gave her access to a library on the east side of the house. It was too elegant to feel like an office. Dark wood shelves, leather chairs, tall windows facing the frozen lawn. Within 2 hours, Avery destroyed the atmosphere. Folders covered the table. A legal pad rested beside her laptop. Coffee rings appeared on a coaster. Mason brought the first batch of financial records. Avery looked at the stack. This is incomplete. It is what you requested. No, it is what someone decided I should see. Mason stared at her. Avery opened one binder. These vendor records stop at subsidiary level. So money does not disappear at the level everyone watches. She pointed to a line. This company bills Vale Logistics. Vale Logistics pays them, clean. She flipped 2 pages. But if that company hires another vendor and that vendor routes part of the payment somewhere else, I never see it. Mason looked at the paper. You want subcontracts? All of them. That is thousands of pages. Avery looked at him. Then you should probably bring coffee. By evening, Roman found her surrounded by files. Her hair had fallen loose from the knot at the back of her head. Her untouched dinner sat on a side table. He entered quietly. Avery did not look up. You are limping. I am sitting. You limped when you crossed the room. Are you monitoring my walking now? No. She looked up. Roman stood several feet away. He did not seem offended. That almost made arguing with him disappointing. You need to eat. Avery looked at the plate. I forgot. People say that when they mean they chose not to. You sound like Lena. She would be insulted. Avery closed the ledger. Why did you answer me? Roman did not move. She had not planned to ask. Maybe exhaustion made honesty easier. You could have ignored the text. I could have. You did not know me. No. Then why drive across the city? Roman's gaze shifted toward the window. The sun had disappeared. Outside, security lights painted pale circles across the grounds. I told you. You said because I asked someone to come. That is true. It is not complete. Roman looked back at her. No. Avery waited. He gave her nothing else. She exhaled. Fine. Roman nodded toward the files. What did you find? Avery pushed one statement across the table. Who is Keystone Freight Solutions? A shipping contractor, trusted for 7 years. They are either terrible at calculating fuel costs or someone is using them. Roman stepped closer. Avery pointed to several columns. Truck 17 makes the same route 12 times in 1 month. The distance does not change. Fuel usage should stay within a predictable range. It does not. No. She tapped 3 entries. Every few trips it jumps between 2 and 4%. Roman's eyes moved across the numbers. Could be theft from drivers. It could. But you do not think so. Avery reached for another folder. The same percentage appears in warehouse insurance adjustments. Another page. And equipment maintenance. Roman grew very still. Avery continued. Different departments, different vendors, same pattern. How much? Across what I have seen so far, maybe 600,000. Roman's expression did not change. Avery stared at him. Most people react when they hear $600,000 is missing. I am reacting. No, you are standing there. That is how I react. She almost laughed. Then she noticed something. One vendor name appeared twice. Avery opened another folder. Calder Freight Brokerage. Roman's attention sharpened. Show me. She slid the page toward him. The company had received only 3 payments. Small, ordinary, but each was connected indirectly to one of the suspicious accounts. Who is Calder? Roman did not answer immediately. That was enough. Avery leaned back. You know the name. Vincent Calder. Mason entered at that moment carrying another box. He stopped when he heard it. Avery looked between them. Who is Vincent Calder? Roman closed the folder. A businessman. Avery gave him a flat look. Do not do that. Do what? Use normal words for abnormal things. Mason set the box down. Roman looked toward him once. Mason spoke. Calder controls territory north of the city. Avery waited. Mason added, warehouses, gambling, distribution, some legitimate businesses. So, another organization. Roman said, yes. Rival. Sometimes. Avery looked at the papers. Your sometimes rival has money passing through companies that are quietly taking yours. Roman's jaw tightened. Apparently. She studied him. You did not know. No. For some reason, his honesty unsettled her. She had imagined men like Roman as omniscient, untouchable. The truth was more dangerous. Power did not mean knowing everything. It meant having more to lose when you missed something. The next 3 weeks settled into a rhythm Avery had not expected. Physical therapy in the morning, financial records in the afternoon, pain at night. Dr. Mercer came 3 times each week. She made Avery practice transferring weight onto the injured leg. At first, Avery hated every second. Her body resisted before the pain even arrived. She would stand between parallel rails, hands gripping the metal, and feel the kitchen floor return beneath her. Derek's voice. You should have stopped pushing me. Her knee would lock. Her breathing would shorten. One morning, Lena noticed. Do you feel pain? Yes. How much? 6. Does it feel unstable? Avery hesitated. No. Then what are you afraid of? Avery looked down. Falling. Lena nodded. That is different. She tapped the side of Avery's knee. Pain gives information. Fear gives information too. Neither one makes the decision. Avery looked at her. So what does you? Later that afternoon, Avery stood alone in the library. Her cane rested against the desk. Roman entered and saw her. She immediately reached for it. Do not. Avery glared at him. I thought we had rules about my medical care. We do. Then stop telling me what to do. Roman lifted both hands slightly. Fine. Avery took the cane. Something about winning irritated her. She looked at him. You were going to say something. No. Roman. He leaned against the doorway. You were standing before I entered. So, you stopped because I saw you. Avery said nothing. That is not your leg. Her face heated. Roman continued. That is fear. You suddenly have a medical degree. No. Then keep your diagnosis to yourself. He nodded. Avery hated how reasonable he was being. She hated even more that he was right. Roman turned to leave. Wait. He stopped. Avery stared at the empty space between her and the desk. Then she placed the cane back against it. Her palms became damp. She shifted weight slowly. The leg trembled. Pain moved through her knee. Information. She breathed. Roman remained silent. Avery released the edge of the desk. 1 second, 2, 3. Her knee shook harder. She grabbed the desk again. Roman did not congratulate her. He did not tell her he knew she could do it. He simply said, "Again." Avery looked at him, then stood once more. By the 5th week, the missing money had become something else. Avery built a map of every suspicious transaction: vendor, account, date, employee access, approval. She covered one wall of the library with printed records. Mason stood behind her one evening. "It looks like you are hunting a serial killer." "Financial criminals are more repetitive." Roman entered. Avery pointed at 4 names. These people had access to every compromised account. Roman read them. One name caught his attention. Avery noticed. "Nolan Pierce." Roman's face hardened. Mason stopped moving. Avery looked between them. "Who is he?" Mason answered quietly. "Someone who has worked with Roman for 15 years. Avery turned back to the wall. "Trusted, senior, close enough to move unnoticed." She traced the access records again. There was one problem. "Access does not mean guilt." Roman said no. "I need something only the thief can reveal." Roman looked at her. "What?" Avery reached for a blank page. "A trap." Before she could explain it, a sound cracked through the night. Not thunder, a gunshot. Mason's hand moved beneath his jacket. Roman crossed the room in 2 strides. A second shot echoed outside. The lights remained on. Avery froze. Mason touched his earpiece. "Northgate." Roman looked at Avery. "Stay here." She almost argued. Then she saw his face. Not control. Threat assessment. Real danger. Roman and Mason left. Avery stood beside the table, heart pounding. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. When Roman returned, his coat was wet with sleet. He carried a black envelope. Avery stared at it. "What happened?" "Camera at the Northgate was destroyed. Who?" "We do not know." Roman placed the envelope on the table. Inside was a photograph. Avery stopped breathing. It showed her leaving physical therapy 2 days earlier. Cane in one hand. Lena beside her, taken from across the street. Avery's fingers went cold. Roman's voice was quiet. "Pack a bag." She looked at him. "For what?" "I am moving you." "No." His eyes hardened. "This is not a negotiation." Avery looked at the photograph again, then at the wall of transactions. Calder. Missing money. Employee access. Someone inside Roman's organization had given another man enough information to find her. Fear rose through her. But beneath it was something else. Anger. She picked up the photograph. "If I leave, does this stop?" Roman did not answer. Avery looked directly at him. "Does it?" "No." "Then moving me does not solve the problem. It keeps you alive. For how long?" Roman's jaw tightened. "Avery." She turned toward the records. 4 names. 4 people with access. One of them close enough to Roman that the possibility had already changed the room. Avery took a marker from the table. She circled Nolan Pierce's name. Then she looked at Roman. "You wanted to know who is stealing from you." Roman said nothing. Avery placed the photograph beneath Nolan's name. "Now I want to know who gave them mine." Roman looked at the name Avery had circled. Nolan Pierce. For several seconds no one spoke. The photograph of Avery leaving physical therapy lay beneath it, glossy under the library lights. Avery could still feel the cold rush that had gone through her when she first saw the image. Someone had watched her. Someone had known where she would be. Someone had known when she would leave the estate. That information had not come from the street. It had come from inside. Roman finally said, "A name on a list is not proof." Avery looked at him. "I know." Mason glanced at the wall. "Nolan has had access to this house longer than half the men working security. Which is why accusing him too early would be stupid." Roman's eyes returned to Avery. "What do you want?" She crossed her arms. To make the thief identify himself. Mason stepped closer to the table. How? Avery picked up a blank sheet of paper. We create something worth stealing. Roman stayed quiet. That meant she had his attention. We build a fake transfer, something believable, large enough to matter, small enough that nobody outside the right circle should notice. Mason frowned. And we tell 4 different people 4 different versions. Roman understood first. Different account numbers. Avery nodded. Different routing details, different timing. Each version gets shown to one person on the list. Mason looked at the names. If Calder reacts to one of them, we know who leaked it. Exactly. Roman leaned against the edge of the table. What kind of transfer? Avery thought for a moment. Something tied to a warehouse purchase. It gives us a reason to move money quickly without involving too many people. Roman looked at Mason. Set it up. Avery raised one hand. No. Both men looked at her. She pointed to the financial records. I set it up. Roman's expression changed. Not anger, concern. Why? Because if someone is watching the books closely enough to steal from you, they will notice if the transfer looks like something your people designed. Mason nodded slowly. She is right. Roman gave him a look. Mason did not apologize. Avery sat down. I need access to the reserve account structure. Roman went still. No. There it was, the first hard wall. Avery met his eyes. If you want the trap to work, it has to look real. You do not need access to reserve accounts. Then you do not need me. Roman's jaw tightened. Mason looked between them. Avery waited. Roman was used to winning arguments through silence. She was learning not to fill it for him. Finally, he said, limited access. Read only. Yes. And I choose the account. Roman considered it. With Mason present. Fine. Mason muttered. Glad I have been promoted to chaperone. Avery ignored him. Roman did not. You are welcome to leave. Mason gave him a thin smile. I would, but apparently I am the only adult in the room. Avery looked down before Roman could see her smile. The trap took 2 days to build. Avery created 4 nearly identical purchase files. Each claimed Roman was preparing to buy a warehouse near the Delaware River. The amount was $14 million. Large enough to attract attention, small enough to seem plausible within the network. Each file contained a different destination account. One went to Nolan Pierce, one to an operations director named Henry Cole, one to a logistics manager named Marcus Bell, one to a senior bookkeeper named Dana Roth. Roman delivered the information personally. No email, no shared system, no assistant. Only 4 people. Then they waited. Avery hated waiting. Numbers gave her something to do. Waiting did not. She returned to physical therapy. Her leg had improved enough that Lena allowed her to begin short distances with a cane instead of crutches. The first time Avery crossed the therapy room without holding the parallel bars, she nearly cried from relief. She did not. Mostly because Roman was sitting in the corner. He had arrived halfway through the session without warning. Avery stopped. Why are you here? Roman looked up from his phone. Meeting nearby. Lena laughed. No, he did not. Roman ignored her. Avery stared at him. Do you usually attend employee medical appointments? You are not an employee right now. What am I? Roman's gaze held hers. You tell me. Something warm and dangerous moved through her chest. She looked away first. Lena handed her the cane. Again. Avery faced the length of the room. 10 feet. Not much. It felt enormous. She stepped forward. The injured leg accepted the weight. Pain flashed. She kept moving. 1 step, then another. By the time she reached the other side, her breathing was uneven. Lena nodded. Good. Roman said nothing. Avery turned toward him. You can say it. Say what? Whatever smug thing you are thinking. Roman stood. I was thinking you did not look afraid. The words hit harder than praise would have. Avery looked down at the cane. I was. Roman stepped closer. That is not the same thing. He stopped at a respectful distance. You did it anyway. For once, Avery had no sarcastic answer. That evening, the first response to the trap appeared. Avery was in the library when her laptop made a soft alert. She looked at the screen. A company connected to Calder had requested information about a warehouse permit near the river. Her pulse quickened. She opened the request, then froze. The location matched one of the 4 false files. Roman entered as she stood. "What?" Avery turned the laptop toward him. "The bait moved." Mason came in behind him. Avery opened the routing details. There was no mistake. Only one file contained that account. Only one person had seen it. Nolan Pierce. Mason swore quietly. Roman did not move. Avery watched his face. This was not merely an employee, not merely money. 15 years. Whatever Nolan had done, it had cut deeper than the stolen cash. Roman asked, "Can you prove he gave it to Calder?" "I can prove information unique to Nolan appeared in Calder's network." "Enough." Avery shook her head. "For you, maybe." Roman looked at her. "What does that mean?" "It means if you drag him into a room and accuse him, he can deny it." "He can." "And then what?" Roman said nothing. Avery understood. She closed the laptop. "No." His expression hardened. "No what?" "No making him disappear because the numbers point in his direction." "Avery, you asked me to find the leak." "I did. I found it. Now I want the confession." Roman's voice became colder. "Why?" "Because I want to know how far it goes." Mason nodded. If Nolan gave them her schedule, he may have given them security too. Roman looked at him. A long second passed. Then Roman said, "Bring Nolan in." The meeting happened that night, not in a basement, not in some filthy warehouse, in Roman's conference room. That made it more frightening. Nolan Pierce arrived wearing a navy suit and a calm expression. He was older than Avery expected. Silver beginning at his temples, expensive watch, perfect manners. He looked like a bank executive, not a trader. Nolan smiled when he saw Avery, still buried in spreadsheets. Avery looked at him. Most days. He sat. Mason stood near the door. Roman took the chair across from Nolan. Avery sat to Roman's right. Nolan noticed. His eyes lingered on her for half a second. "Something wrong?" Roman slid the fake warehouse file across the table. Nolan looked down, then back up. "No." "Read it." Nolan opened the folder. His hand stayed steady. Avery watched his eyes. Page 1, page 2. Nothing. Roman said, "Do you recognize it?" "Warehouse acquisition." "Did you show it to anyone?" "No." "Discuss it?" "No." "Photograph it?" Nolan's face changed slightly. "Of course not." Roman leaned back. Avery opened her laptop. "We gave 4 people 4 versions of that file." Nolan turned toward her. Avery continued. "Different accounts, different permits, different locations." She rotated the screen. "Yesterday, a Calder company started checking permits for the exact property in your version." Silence. Nolan stared at the screen, then at Roman. "This proves nothing." Avery nodded. "Maybe." Nolan looked almost relieved. "So we are done." "No." Avery opened another file. "The routing number in your version does not belong to a Vale account." Nolan's eyes narrowed. "It belongs to an account I created." Roman watched him. Avery continued. "There is no money there. Never was." Nolan said nothing. "But somebody tried to access it 4 hours ago." His expression changed. "Only once, but enough. Mason saw it too." Avery leaned forward. "They used credentials tied to one of Calder's shell companies." Nolan's jaw tightened. Roman finally spoke. "How long?" Nolan looked at him. "Roman, how long?" "This is not what you think." Roman's expression became almost empty. Avery had learned that was when he was most dangerous. Nolan exhaled. 3 years. Mason cursed. Roman remained still. "Why?" Nolan laughed once. There was no humor in it. "Because you stopped paying attention." Roman said nothing. Nolan leaned back. "You built an organization around rules, loyalty, discipline. Then you started changing." His eyes moved toward Avery. "Now you let an accountant sit in meetings she has no business hearing." Roman's voice dropped. "Careful." Nolan smiled. "There. That. He looked at Avery. He used to make decisions without wondering how they would look to someone else. Avery felt Roman tense beside her. Nolan continued. Calder understands something you forgot. Fear works. Roman said you sold shipment locations. Yes. Security rotation. Nolan hesitated. Mason stepped forward. Answer. Yes. Roman's voice remained level. Avery's schedule. Nolan looked at her. For the first time, Avery saw shame. It lasted less than a second. Yes. Her stomach tightened. The photograph outside physical therapy flashed in her mind. A car across the street. A camera pointed at her. A stranger watching her limp. Roman stood. Nolan's face lost color. Avery stood too. Roman looked at Mason. Take him downstairs. Nolan pushed back from the table. Roman, listen to me. Mason grabbed his arm. Nolan looked at Avery. You think he is different because he asks permission before touching you? Avery froze. Nolan saw it. He smiled. You think that makes this something else? Roman moved. Avery caught his wrist. The room stopped. Roman looked down at her hand, then at her face. Do not. His voice was quiet. Avery did not release him. Do not kill him. Nolan stared at her. Mason did too. Roman's eyes remained fixed on Avery. He gave Calder your location. I know. He put you in danger. I know. He betrayed 15 years. I know. Roman's jaw tightened. Then why? Avery looked at Nolan. Because she wanted him afraid. Because part of her wanted Roman to make sure Nolan never watched another woman through a camera again. That frightened her. She looked back at Roman. Because I do not want my work ending with a body every time I find something ugly. Roman said nothing. Avery released his wrist. Make him talk. Make him give you everything he knows. Turn him over to whoever can bury him legally if you have to. Ruin him financially. I do not care. She swallowed. But do not kill him because I found the proof. Roman stared at her for a long time. Then he looked at Mason. Get everything. Mason nodded. And after? Roman glanced at Avery. Alive. Nolan's relief appeared too quickly. Roman saw it. Do not mistake alive for comfortable. Mason took Nolan away. The door closed. Avery stood beside the table. Her hand was still trembling. Roman looked at it. You are afraid. Yes. Of me. Avery thought about the question. Partly. Roman accepted that. What else? Of how easy it was to want you to hurt him. Roman said nothing. Avery looked at the chair Nolan had occupied. 6 months ago I could barely say out loud that Derek hurt me. She looked at Roman. Tonight I sat here while a man admitted giving strangers my location, and part of me wanted to watch you destroy him. Roman stepped closer. Wanting something is not the same as doing it. Avery laughed softly. That sounds almost healthy. I have occasional moments. She looked at him. The tension between them had changed. Not gone. Changed. Roman's voice softened. You stopped me. You listened. You sound surprised. I am. That almost hurt him. Avery saw it. He looked away. For once, she did not apologize. 2 days later, Nolan gave them everything. Calder had been paying him for access, shipping schedules, warehouse locations, names of low-level managers, security information, and more recently information about Avery. Calder believed she was Roman's weakness. Avery hated that phrase, not because it made her sound helpless, because it turned her into a piece on someone else's board. Roman increased security around Claire without telling Avery first. When Avery found out, she stormed into his office. You promised. Roman looked up from his desk. I promised to tell you about threats. You put 2 men outside my sister's building. Yes. Without asking me. Yes. Avery shut the door. You do not get to turn her life into this. Calder already did. That is not the point. It is exactly the point. Avery stared at him. You said this was different. Roman stood. Different from what? Derek. The name landed hard between them. Roman's expression went still. Avery continued. He always had a reason too. He checked my phone because he was worried. He wanted to know where I was because he cared. He hated Claire because she was interfering. Roman's eyes darkened. Do not compare me to him. Then do not make the comparison easy. Silence. Roman looked away first. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its edge. "What do you want?" Avery breathed slowly. "Tell Claire the truth. About Calder. Enough to understand why security is there." Roman nodded. "And she chooses whether they stay." His jaw tightened. "That is not safe." "That is her decision." Roman stared at her. This was harder for him than the money. Harder than access. Harder than any negotiation at breakfast. Finally he said, "Fine." Avery reached for the door. "Avery." She stopped. Roman remained behind the desk. "I am trying." She looked at him. "I know." That mattered more than either of them wanted to admit. That night Avery found Roman alone in the library. No jacket, no tie, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. Nolan's confession lay open on the table. Avery sat across from him. "You knew him a long time?" "Yes." "Was he your friend?" Roman looked at the papers. "Once." Avery waited. Roman rarely volunteered anything personal. She had learned pushing usually made him close faster. After a while he said, "When I was 22, Nolan helped me take control of the first warehouse I ever owned." "Legally?" Roman looked at her. Avery raised one eyebrow. "Right. Stupid question." A faint smile appeared, then disappeared. "He knew my mother." Avery went still. Roman never mentioned family. "Is she alive?" "No." Something in the way he said it made Avery careful. "What happened?" Roman looked toward the dark window. For several seconds she thought he would not answer. Then he said, "She lived with a man who hurt her." Avery's breath caught. Roman continued, "I was 17. I knew." His voice remained controlled, but Avery could hear effort beneath it. "She left him twice, went back twice." Avery said nothing. "One night she called me." Roman's hand closed around the glass. "I was angry with her." "Why?" "Because she had gone back." Avery understood before he said the rest. Roman stared at the whiskey. "I ignored the first call." The room felt colder. She did not call again. Avery looked at him. Roman's face had gone distant. "I found her the next morning." Avery whispered, "Roman." He shook his head. "No sympathy." "I was not giving you sympathy." His eyes met hers. "What were you giving me?" "The right to finish." Something changed in his face. He looked away. "When your message came in, I almost deleted it." Avery's chest tightened. "I thought someone was playing a joke." He gave a humorless laugh. "Then I saw the second message. Please come get me before he comes back." Avery remembered typing it with blood on her palm. Roman continued, "I spent years thinking about one call I did not answer." He looked at her. "So I answered yours." For the first time, the wrong number stopped feeling completely random. Avery stood slowly. Roman watched her approach. She stopped in front of him. "Your mother going back was not permission for him to hurt her." Roman's jaw tightened. Avery continued, "And me staying with Derek did not make what he did my fault." Roman's eyes lifted. She remembered something he had said early on. Something about letting dangerous people get close enough. Something she had carried quietly. Roman understood. "I was wrong." Avery did not expect the words. Roman set the glass down. "I thought making you angry would make you stronger." She looked at him. "It did." He frowned. "That does not make it right." Avery felt something loosen inside her. Roman stood. They were close now, too close for the room to feel ordinary. His eyes dropped briefly to her mouth, then returned to her face. Avery's pulse changed. Roman lifted one hand, stopped before touching her. "Can I?" She knew what he meant. Avery nodded. His fingers touched her cheek. Barely. Warm. Careful. For a man who controlled rooms with a glance, Roman touched her like he knew this was the one place he had no authority. Avery leaned into his hand before she could stop herself. Roman's breath changed. He moved closer. She could smell whiskey he had not drunk and cedar from his shirt. For 1 second she thought he would kiss her. She wanted him to. That frightened her enough to make her step back. Roman dropped his hand immediately. No frustration, no question. Avery looked at him. "Not yet." Roman nodded. "Not yet." 3 days later, Claire called. Her voice was tight. "Derek contacted me." Avery stopped walking. She had been crossing the library without her cane. She reached for the table. What did he want? He says you have been kidnapped. Avery closed her eyes. Of course he does. He says Roman threatened him. Says you are being manipulated. Anything else? Claire hesitated. He wants to go to the police. Roman entered the library as Avery listened. Her face made him stop. Claire continued. He also asked if I knew where you were going for therapy. Avery's blood went cold. When? Yesterday. Roman was already moving toward her. Avery held up one hand. Claire said, Avery, I think something is wrong. So do I. She ended the call. Roman asked Derek. Avery nodded. He asked Claire where I go to therapy. Roman reached for his phone. No. He looked at her. Avery stepped closer. No more solving Derek for me. He is connected to Calder. We do not know that. We can. Then prove it. Roman's eyes narrowed. Avery walked to her laptop. She opened the financial map. Nolan had listed several payment channels Calder used for informants. Small companies, cash withdrawals, prepaid cards. Avery searched Derek's name. Nothing. Then his address. Nothing. His truck registration. Nothing, she thought. Derek had always been terrible with money. Always late, always borrowing, always blaming someone else. But he had bought the truck 6 months ago. Avery pulled the registration records she already had from an old insurance file. The financing company name caught her attention. She typed it into the database. One result. A lending company partially owned by a holding group. The holding group shared an address with a Calder shell company. Avery's stomach dropped. Roman read over her shoulder. How much? She opened the payment history. Derek had received 3 unexplained credits after Avery disappeared. Roman's voice became cold. Calder paid him. Avery stared at the screen. Derek had not merely been talking. He had sold access to her life, her routines, her sister, maybe more. Roman said, I am ending this. Avery closed the laptop. No, Avery, I am. Roman stared at her. You are not meeting him alone. I did not say alone. He hurt you. I remember. He could do it again. Avery stood. Her cane rested against the table. She looked at it, then at Roman. He broke my leg because I spent years believing I could not survive what happened if I finally stopped being afraid of him. Roman said nothing. Avery picked up the cane. I am not asking you to make him disappear. What are you asking? Help me make sure he cannot rewrite this again. The meeting took place in a coffee shop near Rittenhouse Square. Public, bright, busy. Mason sat outside in a parked car. Roman wanted to come. Avery refused. For once, he listened. Derek arrived 10 minutes late. He looked almost the same. That surprised her. Some part of Avery had expected the monster in her memory to look different under daylight. He did not. Same jacket, same restless hands, same expression that always appeared before an apology. He saw the cane. His face softened. Avery. She did not answer. Derek sat. I have been so worried. Avery almost laughed. He reached across the table. She moved her hand away. Derek noticed. His face tightened, then softened again. Look, I know that night was bad. Avery said nothing. I was scared. Of what, you? She stared at him. Derek leaned forward. You were leaving. You were screaming. I tried to stop you. Avery heard the old machinery begin. Explanation, correction, blame. It used to work because she argued with every sentence. Not today. She let him talk. Derek continued. That guy took advantage of you when you were vulnerable. Roman, he is dangerous. So are you. Derek flinched. Avery, I never meant to hurt you. You broke my leg. You fell. There it was. Avery looked at him. Derek shifted. I pushed you okay, but I did not mean for you to fall like that. Avery kept her face still. In her coat pocket, her phone recorded every word. Why were you asking Claire about my therapy? Derek froze. I was not. She told me. She misunderstood. Did Calder tell you to ask? Derek's face changed. Avery saw the answer before he spoke. I do not know who that is. You are lying. His voice sharpened. You think because you have some gangster protecting you that you can sit there and call me a liar. Avery felt fear, real fear. Her body remembered him even if her mind had changed. Her fingers tightened around the cane. Derek saw it and smiled. Tiny, automatic. He still knew how to read her fear. What he did not understand was that fear no longer made the decision. Avery stood. Derek looked up. "You have changed." Avery looked at him. "No." Her voice was calm. "You just do not get to tell me who I am anymore." She turned. Derek grabbed her wrist. For half a second the coffee shop disappeared. Kitchen tile, broken glass, his hand. Then Avery pulled away. Not violently, not desperately, clearly. "Do not touch me." People turned. Derek released her. Outside, Mason was already opening the car door. Avery looked at Derek one last time. "You admitted the assault." His face went blank. "You admitted Calder." "I did not." "You admitted enough." Panic replaced anger. "Avery." She walked away. That afternoon, the recording went to an attorney Claire trusted and to a police contact outside Roman's organization. Roman listened to the file only once. When it ended, he looked at Avery across his office. "You could have asked me to handle him." "I know." "He would never have bothered you again." "I know." Roman studied her. "Why did you not?" Avery looked toward the window. "Because then Derek would still be deciding what kind of person I become." Roman said nothing. Avery turned back. "He took enough." Roman stepped closer. The air changed again, not because Avery was afraid, because she was not. His eyes moved over her face. "You stood up to him." Avery gave a small smile. "I stood up to you first. He was easier." Roman actually laughed, a quiet sound, rare enough that she stared. His hand lifted. He stopped. Avery closed some of the distance between them, not all of it. Roman understood. He let his hand fall. The almost between them remained alive. That night, Avery returned to the numbers. She expected relief. Instead, she found something worse. Calder's network had increased purchases across 4 unrelated companies. Fuel, burner phones, short-term storage, vehicle rentals, temporary payroll. Avery opened each file, then another. Her pulse climbed. Roman entered. She did not look up. "How many men can you move without making it obvious?" Roman stopped. "What?" Avery turned the laptop. "These are not normal operating expenses." He came closer. "Explain." "Calder is spending fast." She pointed to the screen. "Fuel without matching shipping volume. Vehicles without long-term leases. Warehouse space rented for less than 30 days. Mason entered behind him. Avery continued. "Burner phones bought in batches. Cash withdrawals split across 6 companies." Mason's face hardened. "Preparation." Roman looked at the numbers. "For what?" Avery shook her head. "I do not know." Then she noticed something. One of the warehouse rentals began 3 days earlier, less than 6 miles from Roman's estate. Avery zoomed in. Her skin went cold. Roman saw the location. He reached for his phone. Mason was already speaking into his radio. Security procedures changed within minutes. More guards. Vehicles moved. Doors checked. Roman ordered Avery upstairs. This time she did not argue. She went to the study instead. If Calder was building something, she wanted every financial signal visible. At 2:13 in the morning, Avery sat alone at Roman's desk. The estate was silent. Her cane rested beside the chair. On the screen, rows of transactions glowed against the darkness. Avery opened one last Calder account. A payment had cleared 4 minutes earlier. Emergency electrical equipment. She frowned. The lights went out. Every lamp, every hallway, every security light outside. The estate disappeared into blackness. Avery's laptop switched to battery power. For 1 second, she heard only her own breathing. Then a red warning filled the screen. Primary network compromised. Avery slowly stood. Somewhere outside, a man shouted. Then gunfire broke through the night. The second burst of gunfire came from the west side of the estate. Closer. Avery stood behind Roman's desk with one hand pressed against the wood. The darkness felt physical. Thick. Absolute. Somewhere downstairs, glass shattered. Then Mason's voice exploded through the hallway. "Move!" Footsteps thundered across the first floor. Avery reached for her cane. Before her fingers touched it, the study door opened. Roman appeared. He had removed his jacket. A gun rested in his right hand. Avery had seen armed men around him for months. She had seen weapons beneath coats beside doors inside vehicles. She had never seen Roman holding one. Until now. His eyes found her immediately. "Are you hurt?" "No." Good. Another series of shots cracked outside. Roman crossed the room. We have a reinforced room behind the East Library. I know. His gaze sharpened. Go there. Avery looked at her laptop. The network is compromised. I know. If Calder has access to the primary system, I can see what he is touching. From the safe room. Does it have financial terminal access? Roman paused. Avery already knew the answer. Yes. Then that is where I am going. Roman stepped closer. You stay there until Mason or I come for you. Avery grabbed her cane. If the system tells me something you need to know, I am calling. Avery, I am not hiding information because you are busy being terrifying. Under different circumstances, Roman might have argued. Instead, he looked at her for 1 second, then nodded. Fine. The estate shook with another impact. Roman took her arm instinctively. Avery did not flinch. Neither of them had time to notice. They moved. The hallway outside the study was lit only by emergency strips along the floor. Avery could hear men shouting downstairs. The smell of smoke had begun to creep through the house. Roman stayed between her and every open doorway, not touching her now, just moving with her, fast enough to protect, slow enough that she could keep up. The cane struck the floor. Step, step, step. At the end of the corridor, Mason appeared. Blood ran from a cut above his eyebrow. West perimeter is gone. Roman's expression hardened. How? They knew the camera rotation and generator location. Nolan. Has to be. Mason looked at Avery. Safe room. Now. Avery kept moving. They reached the library. Roman pulled one of the shelves forward. Behind it was a steel door Avery had never seen. Of course there was. Mason entered a code. The lock released. Inside was a narrow room lined with monitors, communications equipment, emergency supplies, and a second computer terminal. Avery stared. You have been hiding this behind Jane Austen. Mason looked at the shelf. Nobody suspects Jane Austen. Even Roman almost smiled. Almost. Then another gunshot hit somewhere close enough to erase the moment. Roman looked at Avery. Lock it after us. She stared at him. Roman, stay here. You said Calder is inside the network. That is why you are useful here. Avery hated the word useful. Not because it was wrong. Because tonight it might be the only thing keeping her from being treated like something fragile. Roman reached for the door. Avery caught his sleeve. He turned. Come back. The words escaped before she could reconsider them. For 1 second, everything outside disappeared. The shooting, the alarms, the armed men moving through the house. Roman looked at her hand on his sleeve, then at her face. I intend to. Avery released him. Roman and Mason left. The steel door closed. Avery locked it. Then the room became silent. Too silent. She sat at the terminal. The financial system loaded from an isolated backup network. Avery entered her credentials. Red alerts filled the screen. Primary communications compromised. 2 security nodes offline. 3 vehicle access systems disabled. Emergency generator inactive. Someone had not simply attacked Roman's property. They had studied it. Avery pulled up the access history. The compromised credentials were old. Nolan's. She swore quietly. Nolan had given Calder more than schedules. He had given him architecture. Avery opened the emergency financial dashboard she had built only weeks earlier. At the time, Roman had called it excessive. She had told him excessive was just another word people used before something went wrong. Now every company connected to the organization appeared on one screen. Cash reserves, payroll, vehicle accounts, emergency purchases, warehouse access, temporary cards. She started shutting doors, one by one. Any account tied to Nolan's former permissions was frozen. Any employee login that had not been authenticated in the last 24 hours lost payment access. Avery rerouted emergency funds into a reserve structure only she and Roman could reach. Her hands moved faster than her fear. Numbers did that for her. They gave panic edges, shape, a place to go. Her phone vibrated. Mason, she answered. Tell me something useful. His breathing was heavy. They have men inside the West Wing. How many? At least 12. Avery opened security-related payments. Give me 30 seconds. Avery, I need people, not math. You need both. She searched the personnel authentication logs. 7 guards had checked in through the emergency payroll code she had implemented after Nolan's betrayal. 4 had not. Avery read the names. Mason went silent. How sure? They used Nolan's access tree before the network went down. Meaning if those 4 men show up next to you, do not assume they are yours. Mason swore, then shouted away from the phone. Avery heard gunfire. The call dropped. She stared at the screen. One of the 4 names had security access near Roman's private office. She tried Roman. No answer. Again. Nothing. Avery stood. No. She sat back down. Roman had told her to stay. For once, she understood the reason. If she opened that door because she was frightened, she would become another problem someone had to solve. She forced herself to breathe. Think. Calder's men needed access. Movement. Money. Communication. Every attack created expenses. Avery opened the burner phone purchases she had discovered days earlier. Most were untraceable, but the company buying them had also rented vehicles. Those vehicles had electronic toll accounts. Avery pulled the account. 6 vans had traveled toward Roman's estate within the previous hour. 3 had arrived from the north. 2 from the west. 1 had stopped. Avery zoomed in. The last toll location was near a private service road behind the property. She called Mason again. No answer. Roman. Nothing. She sent both of them the location. Then she opened the property map. The service road ended near the east garden, near the safe room. Her blood went cold. A loud impact struck somewhere beyond the library wall. Avery froze. Another. Not gunfire. Metal. Someone testing doors. She reached toward the handgun Mason had placed inside the safe room. Her fingers stopped. She had never fired one outside a range. Mason had insisted she learn the basics after the photograph appeared. Roman had hated the idea. Avery had asked him whether he preferred she remain helpless. He had never objected again. She picked it up. Another impact. Closer. Avery turned off the monitor. Darkness swallowed the room. She stood beside the door. Her injured leg began trembling, not from pain, memory, kitchen floor, Derek coming back through the door, waiting for someone stronger to decide what happened. Avery closed her eyes. Not tonight. A voice came faintly through the wall. Clear. Another voice. Library. Avery tightened her grip. Then gunfire erupted outside. 3 shots. A body hit the floor. Silence. Someone entered the code. Avery raised the gun. The door opened. Mason appeared. Avery nearly fired. Jesus. Mason stared at the gun. Please tell me you know where the safety is. I do. Excellent. Point it somewhere else. Avery lowered it. Mason entered and locked the door behind him. Blood covered the sleeve of his shirt. Avery's chest tightened. Are you hit? Not mine. Roman. East Hall. Is he okay? He was when I saw him. Mason looked at the terminal. What did you find? Avery showed him the service road. Mason's expression darkened. They planned the east breach. Yes. How many vehicles? 6 total, 1 east, probably a smaller team. Mason pulled out his radio, static. Then a voice. Broken. Read east corridor. Mason pressed the receiver. Say again. More static. Then, Vale is down. Avery stopped breathing. Mason's face changed. He unlocked the door. Avery moved with him. No. He turned. No what? You stay here. Avery stared. You just said Roman is down. I heard it. Then I am coming. No. Mason opened the door. Avery, this is not one of your arguments with Roman. There are armed men in this house. Then why are you leaving me here alone? Because this door is steel. And Roman, Mason's jaw tightened. I will get him. Avery looked at his injured arm. Can you? His silence answered. Avery grabbed her cane. Mason stepped in front of her. No. She looked up at him. I know the shortest route to Lena's medical room. So do I. I know which security doors are still locked. Mason hesitated. That was enough. Avery held up her phone. I have the access map. Mason closed his eyes briefly. Roman is going to kill me. If Roman can kill you, then we solve the immediate problem. Mason looked at her. Despite everything, a short laugh escaped him. Stay behind me. They moved into the hall. The estate no longer looked like a home. Smoke drifted beneath the ceiling. Broken glass glittered across the floor. A painting had fallen from the wall. A man Avery recognized from security lay motionless near the stairs. She looked away, then forced herself to look back. Not because she wanted to, because pretending it was not there would not change it. Mason raised one hand. They stopped. Footsteps. Two men appeared at the far end. Mason shoved Avery behind the wall. Shots exploded. Avery covered her head. Mason returned fire. The sound inside the corridor was deafening. Then silence. Mason looked around the corner. "Move!" Avery followed. Her cane slipped once in blood. Her stomach turned. She kept going. The pain in her knee grew sharper with every step. Information. She heard Lena's voice in her head. Pain gives information. Fear gives information too. Neither one makes the decision. Avery breathed. Step, cane, step. At the junction near the east corridor, Mason suddenly stopped. Roman lay 20 feet away. For half a second, Avery's mind refused to understand what she saw. He was on the floor, one hand pressed against his side. Blood had spread through his white shirt. A gun lay several feet away. The sight did something violent to her chest. Roman Vale did not belong on floors. He belonged standing in doorways, behind desks, at the head of tables, watching everyone else lose control. Now his face was pale, his eyes barely open. Avery moved. Mason caught her arm. "Wait." He checked the corridor, then nodded. Avery dropped the cane and went to Roman. Her knees screamed when she knelt. She ignored it. "Roman!" His eyes opened slightly. For 1 second, confusion moved across his face. Then anger. "What are you doing here?" Avery almost laughed. "You were shot, and that is your first question." "Safe room." "Very comfortable, terrible company." Roman tried to push himself upright. Pain stopped him. Avery saw blood between his fingers. "Mason! Through and through, maybe. We need Lena." Roman looked toward the corridor. "Calder's men, falling back." Mason pressed his radio. "They know they lost the element of surprise." Roman looked at Avery. "Go back." "No." "Avery." "No." His eyes hardened. It would have intimidated her once. Tonight it only made her angry. Roman tried to stand. His legs gave way. Avery caught him beneath one arm. The weight nearly took her down. Mason moved to help. Gunfire sounded from downstairs. He looked toward it. A voice shouted over the radio. "Read south entrance." Mason swore. Roman said go. Mason looked at Avery. "I am not leaving him." Roman spoke through clenched teeth. "Go." Mason made the decision. He pressed Roman's gun into Avery's hand. "Medical room is 2 corridors east." Then he ran. Avery stared after him. Roman leaned against the wall. "You cannot carry me. I noticed." "Leave me." She looked at him. The sentence hit somewhere old. Cold kitchen tile, a phone under a table, a man walking out while she begged him to stay. Avery shook her head. "No. Calder still has men inside. Then we should move." "Avery." She picked up her cane, then looked at Roman. The distance to the medical room was not far. Maybe 60 yards. It felt like miles. Avery pushed the cane into Roman's hand. "Use this." He stared at it. "You need it. I need you standing more." Roman tried. His injured side buckled. Avery moved beneath his other arm. His weight settled across her shoulders. Pain exploded through her leg. She gasped. Roman immediately tried to pull away. "No." Avery tightened her grip. "Do not. You are going to injure yourself." "Probably." Avery. "Roman, if you say my name like that one more time, I am leaving you here out of spite." He almost smiled. Almost. They took one step. Avery's injured leg shook. Another. Pain climbed through her knee. Roman's breathing became rougher. Blood warmed the side of her sweater where his body pressed against hers. Slow. "I am going slow." "You are limping. You are bleeding on me." Another step. The corridor seemed endless. Roman's weight grew heavier. Avery's vision blurred. She remembered the therapy room, the rails. 5 seconds standing alone. Roman waiting without touching her. Again, she had stood again. Now she did. One step, then another. Roman's grip tightened. "You cannot do this." Avery looked straight ahead. "Pain is information." Roman turned his head slightly. She heard the memory land between them. Avery continued. "That is what you kept telling me. I stole that from Lena. Then complain about copyright later. Roman's breath became a broken laugh. It turned into a grimace. His knees gave. Avery nearly fell with him. They hit the wall. Pain tore through her injured leg. She bit down on a scream. Roman tried to push her away. Enough! Avery looked at him. His face had gone gray. No. You are hurt. So are you. I am heavier. Very observant. Avery. She grabbed his shirt. Look at me. Roman blinked. What? Look at me. His eyes focused on hers. The words seemed to stop time. Months earlier she had been on a stretcher, terrified, pain pulling her consciousness apart. Roman had leaned over her and said the same thing. Look at me, stay here. Now his eyes were losing focus. Avery held the back of his neck. Stay with me. Roman breathed slowly. Avery, I am here. His forehead touched hers for 1 second. Not romance, not tenderness, survival. Then Avery pulled him upright again. They moved. By the time they reached Lena's medical room, Avery could barely feel her leg beneath the pain. She hit the door with her palm. Lena. The door opened. Dr. Mercer saw Roman and immediately moved. Table. 2 medics appeared behind her. They took Roman's weight. Avery almost collapsed without it. Lena pointed at a chair. Sit. I am fine. Avery. The tone left no space for negotiation. She sat. Roman was lifted onto the medical table. Lena cut through his shirt. Blood covered his abdomen. Avery's stomach tightened. How bad? Lena did not look up. I need you quiet. Roman turned his head. Avery. She stood again. Lena snapped. Sit down. Roman ignored her. Get her out. Avery stared at him. What? Take Claire. Leave Philadelphia. Avery walked to the side of the table. Roman's breathing was shallow. You are not making decisions right now. His eyes sharpened despite the pain. I am always making decisions. No. Avery leaned closer. You got shot. Your organization is under attack. You are bleeding on a table. Roman tried to speak. Avery cut him off. For once in your life you are not in charge. Silence. Even Lena stopped for half a second. Roman stared at Avery. Then something almost peaceful moved through his face. Trust or surrender. Maybe both. His eyes closed. Avery's heart stopped. Roman. Lena moved quickly. His pressure is dropping. What does that mean? It means I need space. Avery. She looked at Lena. Go. I am not leaving. You are if you want him alive. That worked. Avery backed away. The door closed between them. For several seconds she stood in the hallway staring at it. Then Mason appeared. His shirt was torn. His face looked exhausted. House is secure. Avery turned. Roman is in surgery. Mason looked at the door. Calder. His people pulled out. For now. Avery looked down. Blood covered her sweater, Roman's. Her hand started shaking. Mason noticed. Sit. No. Avery. No. She looked at him. Who is in charge while he is unconscious? Mason stared at her. I am handling security. That was not my question. His expression hardened. Senior captains will meet. When? Morning. Too late. Avery. Calder attacked Roman's house because he thinks tonight makes him weak. Mason said nothing. She continued. If Roman disappears for 12 hours, people start guessing. If payroll stops, people panic. If shipments freeze, people choose sides. Mason's eyes narrowed. You have been here a few months. I know. These men have known Roman for decades. I know. They are not going to take orders from you. Avery looked at the blood on her hands. I do not need them to like me. Mason stared. Avery continued. I need account control. What? Everything tied to Nolan's old access. Calder's known shells, emergency reserves, payroll. Mason shook his head. Roman has to authorize reserve movement. He gave me access. Read only. Avery looked at him. Not anymore. Mason paused. What did you do? I built an emergency protocol. You built what? In case Roman was unavailable. Mason blinked. Did Roman approve it? Avery did not answer. Mason closed his eyes. Of course he did not. He told me contingency planning was unnecessary, and you ignored him. I learned from him. Despite the blood and gunfire, Mason laughed once. Then he looked toward the operating room. What do you need? Avery's fear became focus again. A computer. By 3 in the morning, Roman's conference room had become a command center. Mason handled men. Avery handled money. The first problem appeared within minutes. 2 regional crews requested additional cash. A warehouse manager reported that one of Calder's companies was offering double pay to drivers willing to abandon Vale shipments. Another message reported rumors that Roman was dead. Avery looked at Mason. Do not deny it publicly. What? If you issue a denial, people know something happened. Then what do I say? Nothing. She opened payroll. Pay every loyal crew early. Mason stared. Tonight. Tonight. That is millions. Exactly. She started authorizing transfers. Calder is offering people more because he thinks uncertainty makes them cheap. She looked at Mason. Make loyalty more expensive to lose. Mason watched the numbers move. Roman would hate this. Roman can complain when he wakes up? The words caught in her throat. When, not if. She refused to use if. Avery froze every vendor connected to Nolan. She opened alternative trucking accounts, redirected shipments away from vulnerable warehouses, closed 3 routes Calder had learned, activated the emergency authentication code. Anyone requesting operational funds now had to confirm identity through a system Avery had designed. By sunrise, 6 false requests had been blocked. Calder still had people inside the organization. Avery marked every one. At 7, the senior captains arrived. 5 men, 1 woman, all older than Avery, all dangerous in ways she could feel before they spoke. They entered expecting Roman. They found Avery sitting at the head of the table. Nobody liked it. Frank DeLuca was the first to speak. Where is Vale? Avery looked at Mason. He nodded. She told them the truth. He was shot. The room changed immediately. Questions. Anger. One man stood. Avery raised her voice. He is alive. Silence returned. For now, Dr. Mercer has him stable. Frank stared at her. And you are sitting in his chair because... Avery looked down. She had not noticed which chair she had chosen. She stood, then moved to the one beside it. Better. Frank's expression tightened. Avery continued. I am not Roman. No shit. Mason took 1 step forward. Avery lifted a hand. She did not need him fighting every battle. She looked at Frank. You do not need to respect me. Good. But if you want your people paid tomorrow, you need to listen for 5 minutes. That worked. Avery turned the monitor toward them. She showed them Calder's shell companies, compromised routes, corrupt employees, warehouse leases, accounts, everything Nolan had helped expose. Then she showed them what she had done during the night. These routes are dead. She highlighted 3. These accounts are frozen. Another list. These employees failed emergency authentication and currently have no financial access. Frank leaned forward. You cut Michael Trent. Yes. He has worked South Docks for 9 years. He also requested $80,000 from an account Nolan used. Frank's face changed. Avery opened the log. 20 minutes after the shooting started. Nobody spoke. Avery looked around the table. Calder expects you to spend today wondering whether Roman survives. Her voice remained calm. We do not have time. One captain asked, What do you suggest? Avery looked at Mason. He answered, We lock the city down. Avery shook her head. No. Everyone looked at her. Mason frowned. Why? Because that is expensive. Frank laughed. Avery ignored him. Calder prepared for a physical response. He rented vehicles, storage, temporary crews. He expects men. She opened another screen. What he did not prepare for is losing access to his money. The room became quiet. Avery pointed at Calder's operating network. These companies pay his drivers, these pay warehouses, these cover fuel. One captain frowned. We cannot just close his bank accounts. No, Avery looked at the screen, but we can make them dangerous to use. She had spent months learning Roman's world, not only the illegal side, the legitimate businesses too. Contracts, insurance, taxes, lenders, permits, people who preferred clean paperwork because clean paperwork kept government eyes away. Avery began sending documentation, not to police, not yet, to insurers, banks, business partners. Anyone with legal exposure to companies Calder had contaminated. By noon, 2 transactions were delayed. By 2, a commercial lender froze a credit facility pending review. By 4, one of Calder's warehouses lost access to a fuel supplier. Small cuts, 2%, 3%. The same method Nolan had used against Roman. Avery understood something then. An organization did not collapse when the bullets started. It collapsed when ordinary things stopped working. Phones, fuel, payroll, trust. At 5:30, Avery's phone rang from an unknown number. Mason saw the screen. "Do not answer." Avery did. "Hello," a man's voice replied. "Ms. Collins." She knew immediately. Vincent Calder. Avery looked at Mason. He activated recording. Calder sounded almost amused. "I expected Roman. He is busy. I heard." Avery said nothing. Calder continued. "You have created problems for me today. I am an accountant." "It happens." He laughed. "I like you." "No, you do not. Roman does." Avery's face hardened. "What do you want? A conversation?" "We are having one. I want access to Roman's reserve accounts." Avery almost laughed. "Of course you do. Give me the authentication sequence and I guarantee you walk away." "From what?" "From all of this." Avery looked around the conference room, at Mason, at the maps, at Roman's empty chair. Calder continued. "You were unlucky enough to text the wrong man." Avery's eyes narrowed. He knew the beginning. Derek, Nolan, all of it. Calder said, "You are an accountant pretending to be a gangster." Avery looked at the screen. She opened an account she had deliberately left untouched. A reserve account. Small compared with Roman's primary assets. Large enough to tempt Calder. "No." Calder paused. Avery continued. "I am an accountant who knows you cannot fight a war without money." Silence. Then Calder said, "Think carefully." "I have." She ended the call. Mason stared at her. "What did you just do?" Avery opened the exposed account. "He wants reserves." "Yes. So I am going to give him one." Mason's expression changed. "No. Not the money." She smiled without humor. "The door." They created a false emergency transfer. Roman's reserve account appeared vulnerable. Avery attached enough authentication information to make it believable. Not enough to complete the transfer remotely. Calder would need someone physically connected to one of his secured terminals. Mason understood. "You are trying to locate him." Avery nodded. "Money leaves footprints. What if he sees the trap? Then he does not touch it. And if he does?" Avery looked at the monitor. "We learn where he is." They waited. 20 minutes. Nothing. 40. Nothing. Avery's confidence began to thin. Then the account flashed. Access request. She leaned forward. Mason called his team. The authentication request bounced through 2 servers. Avery followed it. Another request. Then another. She stripped away the shell accounts one at a time. Finally, an address appeared. An industrial building near the river. One of the short-term warehouses Calder had rented. Mason stared. "That is him?" "We do not know that. It is enough." Avery grabbed his arm before he left. "Do not turn this into revenge." Mason looked at her. "He attacked our house." "I know. He shot Roman." "I know." "Then what do you call it?" Avery released him. "End the threat. Do not become one." Mason studied her, then nodded once. He left. Avery remained at the table. For the first time in almost 20 hours, there was nothing left for her to do. That was when exhaustion found her. Her leg throbbed. Her clothes still carried Roman's blood. She looked toward the empty chair beside her. Then her phone rang. Lena. Avery answered before the first vibration ended. "Is he alive?" "Yes." Her eyes closed. The breath left her in one broken sound. Lena continued. "The bullet missed his liver by less than an inch. He lost a lot of blood. I repaired the damage." Avery pressed one hand against her mouth. "When will he wake up?" "I do not know." The relief stopped halfway. "What does that mean?" "It means his body has been through trauma. He needs time." Avery looked at the dark windows. "He is going to wake up." Lena was quiet. Then, "I believe so." It was not a promise. Avery accepted it anyway. Roman remained unconscious for 3 days. Calder's warehouse was empty by the time Mason's team entered. But the equipment inside told them enough. Phones, records, payment schedules, names. Calder had fled Philadelphia before sunrise. Without cash access and with several businesses frozen, many of his people did not follow. Some disappeared, some changed sides. Some suddenly remembered legitimate careers they wanted to pursue. Avery spent those 3 days doing what she knew. She worked. Every few hours, she visited Roman. He lay beneath white sheets, surrounded by machines. The first time she saw him like that, she almost turned around. Roman without motion felt wrong. She sat beside the bed. "You are causing administrative problems." No response. Avery looked at his hand. She wanted to take it. She hesitated, then laughed quietly at herself. "He is unconscious, Avery." She took his hand, warm, alive. "You made me promise to tell you about threats." She looked at him. "So here is one." Her thumb moved across his knuckles. "If you do not wake up soon, I am reorganizing everything." "Nothing." "You hate when I reorganize things?" The monitor continued its steady rhythm. Avery leaned back. "Mason says Calder is gone." She swallowed. "Claire is safe." Another pause. "Derek's attorney contacted mine. He's apparently very interested in cooperating now that Calder has disappeared." Avery smiled faintly. "You would enjoy that." Her smile faded. She looked at Roman's face. "I carried you." The words came quietly. "I do not know if you remember." Her throat tightened. "You were right about one thing." She looked down at her leg. "It still hurts." Then back at him. "But it works." She sat there until Lena made her leave. On the fourth morning, Mason found Avery asleep at the conference table. Her head rested on folded arms beside a laptop. He placed a cup of coffee near her. Avery opened one eye. "If that is decaf, I will fire you." "You cannot fire me. I control payroll." Mason considered that. Fair point. Avery sat upright. "Anything—" "Calder's remaining operations are fragmenting." Roman Mason looked toward the hallway. "No change." Avery lowered her eyes. Then Lena appeared in the doorway. "Avery." Something in her voice made Avery stand too quickly. Her injured leg protested. She ignored it. "What happened?" Lena looked tired. "He is awake." Avery stopped. The entire room seemed to shift. Mason smiled. Avery was already moving. She reached the medical suite faster than Lena wanted. Roman lay exactly where she had left him, except his eyes were open. Avery stopped in the doorway. For several seconds, neither spoke. Roman looked pale, exhausted, alive. His eyes moved over her face, then toward the cane in her hand. "You are limping." Avery stared at him. 4 days. A house full of bullets. An organization nearly collapsing. And that was what he said. She laughed. Then to her horror, tears filled her eyes. Roman's expression changed immediately. "Avery." She crossed the room. "You got shot." "I noticed." "You nearly died." "I noticed that too." "You are impossible." Roman's gaze stayed on her. "What happened?" Avery sat beside the bed. "Calder's people attacked. Nolan gave them security architecture. Mason pushed them out." Roman nodded slowly. "And Calder? Gone." His eyes narrowed. "Gone. Philadelphia." "Why?" Avery looked at him. "Because he ran out of money." Roman stared. She continued. "I froze Nolan's network, rerouted vulnerable operations, moved emergency funds, paid crews early, exposed Calder's shell companies to lenders and insurers, then used one of your reserve accounts to bait him into revealing a warehouse." Roman remained silent. Avery suddenly felt uncertain. "Say something." He looked toward Mason, who stood at the doorway. "Is she serious?" Mason folded his arms. "I spent 3 days being ordered around by an accountant." Avery glared at him. Mason continued. It was humiliating. Roman looked back at Avery. "And the organization?" "Stable. Losses. Manageable. South Docks. Operating. Payroll. Early." Roman blinked. "Early." Avery lifted her chin. "It worked." Roman closed his eyes briefly. Avery waited. When he opened them again, something in his expression had changed. Not surprise, not gratitude. Recognition. He looked at Avery as if he were seeing the entire distance between the woman on the kitchen floor and the woman sitting beside his hospital bed. "You did all that while I was unconscious." Avery nodded. "You told me numbers mattered." "I do not remember saying that." "You should listen to yourself more." Roman's mouth curved slightly. Then the smile disappeared. "You should have left." Avery's expression hardened. "We are not doing this. You could have died. So could you. That is different." "No. Avery. No." She stood. Roman watched her. Avery placed both hands on the edge of the bed. "You came to my house because a stranger sent you 4 words." Roman said nothing. "You walked into a situation you knew nothing about because you decided leaving me there was unacceptable." Her voice softened. "Do not insult me by pretending I am not allowed to make the same decision." Roman looked at her for a long time, then at her leg. "You carried me." Avery smiled faintly. "You remember. Pieces. You complained the entire time. That sounds right. You told me I could not do it." Roman's gaze returned to hers. "You did." "Yes." Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, not empty, something else. Roman reached for her hand. His movement was weak. Avery gave it to him. His fingers closed around hers. No hesitation this time. Roman looked at their joined hands, then at her. "I thought you were safe in that room." "I was." "Then why did you leave?" Avery thought of the security screen. Roman collapsing, the kitchen floor, the phone beneath the table. She answered simply, "Because you were not." Roman's eyes held hers. Something raw moved behind them. Avery had seen him angry, cold, amused, dangerous. She had never seen him without armor. Not until now. He lifted her hand toward his mouth and pressed his lips against her knuckles. Avery's breath caught. It was not a kiss she had expected. Maybe that was why it felt more intimate than one. Roman lowered her hand. "You no longer owe me anything." Avery frowned. "What?" He looked toward the window. "When I can stand, we need to talk." Avery studied him. "You are talking now." "Not about this." "Roman." His gaze returned to hers. For the first time since she had known him, there was uncertainty there. Real uncertainty. "I need to know that whatever you decide after this belongs to you." Avery's heartbeat slowed. Roman released her hand. "You saved my life." She stared at him. He continued, "You held the organization together when I could not." His voice became quieter. "There is no debt left between us." Avery looked at him. Roman Vale had built his entire world around accounts, debts, credits, consequences. Everything measured, everything balanced. Now he was lying in a hospital bed inside his own house, looking at Avery as though the most frightening thing he had ever done was remove the last reason she might have to stay. She did not answer. Not yet. Instead, she reached for the glass of water beside his bed. Roman frowned. "What are you doing?" "You have been unconscious for 4 days. I am aware." "Drink." His eyes narrowed. Avery held the glass closer. Roman looked at her. Then slowly he drank. Avery smiled. For the moment, that was enough. 3 weeks later, Roman walked into the library without assistance. Slowly, stubbornly. Avery looked up from her laptop. "You are supposed to be resting." Roman lowered himself into the chair across from her. "I have rested enough." Dr. Mercer disagrees. Lena disagrees professionally. She threatened to sedate you. Also professionally. Avery tried not to smile. Roman placed a folder on the desk. "Open it." Inside was a complete accounting of everything spent since the night Avery sent the wrong text. Surgery. Security, housing, transportation, every dollar. At the bottom was one final line. Balance, 0. Avery looked at him. "What is this?" "You owe me nothing." "I thought we already established that." "We did." Roman placed another envelope beside the folder. Inside were documents for an apartment in Avery's name, a legitimate employment contract, and access to an independent account containing every dollar she had earned. Avery stared at the papers. Roman's voice became quieter. "The gates are open." She looked up. "No guards will stop you. Mason can drive you wherever you want." Avery studied his face. "And if I leave?" Roman's jaw tightened. "Then you leave. No threat, no condition, no hidden price." For the first time since meeting Roman Vale, Avery knew with absolute certainty that the door was open. So she walked through it. She spent the afternoon with Claire. She visited her old neighborhood. She stood across the street from the house where Derek had broken her leg. It looked smaller now. Just brick, glass, a front door, nothing powerful enough to own her anymore. Claire stood beside her. "What are you going to do?" Avery looked down at the cane in her hand, then at the city around them. "I think I finally get to decide." That evening, a black car returned to Roman's estate, because Avery had called for it. Roman was alone in the library when she entered. He looked up. Surprise crossed his face before control covered it. Avery placed the apartment documents on his desk. Roman's expression hardened. "You do not want it." "I do." He frowned. "Then why are you here?" "Because sometimes I am going to need somewhere that is mine." Roman said nothing. Avery stepped closer. "But I do not want to live there tonight." His eyes stayed on hers. "Why did you come back?" "Not because you saved me." Roman remained still. "Not because I owe you." Avery moved closer. "And not because I am afraid to leave." Roman's voice dropped. "Then why?" Avery looked at the man who had once been nothing more than a wrong number glowing on a broken phone. "Because I wanted to come back." For once, Roman had no answer. He lifted one hand toward her face, stopped. "Tell me to stop." Avery closed the distance herself. "I won't." She kissed him. Months later, Avery sat in the office beside Roman's reviewing financial reports, while Philadelphia burned gold beyond the windows. Her phone vibrated. Roman glanced at the screen, then at her. "You finally saved my number." Avery smiled. "I figured one wrong digit was enough for one lifetime." Roman watched her. "Do you regret it?" Avery looked toward the cane resting untouched against the wall. Then back at him. "No." The story had begun with Avery lying on a kitchen floor waiting for someone to save her. It ended with her standing exactly where she had chosen to stand.